Muse, Will the People, album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Muse, UK-based alternative rock band. They've been at it since the late 90s, which is really crazy to think about. And truth be told, for a really long time, they were one of the most important bands to me, even though still to this day, I'm not that big of a showbiz guy. Sorry. No, for me, it was in the early 2000s with albums like Origin of Symmetry and, man, Absolution, which really got me hooked on the band's sound. Even when I was re-listening to these albums in, kind of preparation for this review, I forgot just how much I loved some of the material on there growing up. Even with Black Holes and Revelations, while I was a little bit more on the fence on the album, there's still a lot of great material on there. It has crowd pleasers like Starlight, the absolutely overplayed Knights of Sidonia, even though I still kind of enjoy it for all its campy goodness. And one of my all-time favorite Muse deep cuts, Maps of the Problematic. Honestly, though, it was some of the later moments on the album that I was just like, okay, this is getting a bit much. And ever since, I don't know what's happened and when it happened, but it's been rough with Muse. It's been really, really rough. The Resistance, once again, it had its moments that I actually thought were really, really cool, but the amount of fluff on this album and just how gaudy and overproduced and outrageously cheesy it was just really started rubbing me the wrong way. And by the time the second law came along, I genuinely thought that Muse was putting out some of the most laughable excuses for alternative rock that was out there right then. This album was really not good at all. And if I can go the rest of my life without ever hearing drones ever again, that would be just fantastic. Yuck. However, I will say this though, in 2018 they really did shock me with just how much I truly enjoyed Simulation Theory. I thought some of the singles on this album, like Thought Contagion and Pressure, were some of the best singles that they put out in years. And yes, this album is campy as hell. Look at the damn artwork, but I had a lot of fun with it, and that's what it really came down to at the end of the day, and I liked that. Now they are back with their latest album. The singles leading up to it I was very hit and miss on. Let's chat about it. I will say this right off the bat. This is not a bad album. It's not a terrible album. It's not even the worst Muse album. It's not even the worst alternative rock album that I've heard this year. But when it is bad, I can smell this thing from a mile away. This album starts off with Will of the People, this album's title track. What's going on here, guys? Help. Please send help. Why are we doing interpretations of Marilyn Manson's music in 2022 with everything going on? My God. And a really cheesy and bad one at that. This track is terrible. Hearing this as a single, I wanted to write it off. I wanted to say, I'm not doing this album. No, I'm not having a good time with this track. I think it's a crap single. And you know what? Worst track here. And Muse do really get on a pretty strong spot, for like the beginning of the album to the midway point of the album, and there's a lot of really good stuff there. But late in the album, oh God, Muse think they can do metal. Kill or Be Killed, this was another single, and it really rubbed me the wrong way as well. Like I said, this is kind of an alternative metal take from Muse, and in their defense, it's heavy. Doesn't mean it's good. It's not true to form or listenable either, honestly. I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, it's really annoying. Also, I have to point out, a lot of the worst tracks here, they're pretty freaking long. This track's almost 5 minutes. And listen, I will give Muse credit on this track. I don't like it, but they tried. I mean, there's a gnarly guitar solo, there's some pounding drums. Good on you. This track's not for me, though. Verona shows them going back down the sort of spacey alternative route, as we do with every Muse album, and you know what, I'm gonna say it, there are some compelling moments in that vein here. But then we get moments like this, and I just want to shut this album off and go for something actually groundbreaking. This is so full of itself. It's trying to be big and bold and game-changing and out of this world. It's not any of those things. They aren't fooling anybody. This is piss poor. There is no emotion or heart in sight. And I do appreciate the little bit of oomph that we get with Euphoria. I needed a more upbeat track. That's certainly this. My God, is it ugly. Who put this track together? This production is awful. And by the end of it, it is an absolute nightmare of 80s synths and bad songwriting. Cliches, too. A lot of them. What happened here? Now, this is not a perfect album. This isn't even a great album. But if you're going to sit here and tell me this is worse than The Second Law or Drones. You're lying to yourself. There's actually a lot of good material here. Like, take for example, Compliance. I hear a track like this, and I think that Muse is pretty much better off than they were 5 years ago. This isn't bad at all. The synth work is nice, and this chorus is simple but really effective. I mean, it's the same old Muse, overly paranoid, very political, and pretty damn campy. But if you could set that aside, it's actually some fun stuff. And listen, you're either gonna really hate Liberation or really love it. I actually like it a lot. For a sort of piano ballad we get here, it's actually really passionate. It grows into something pretty epic. And listen, I'm thinking back to like the days of the Resistance where they were busting out these big orchestral Queen sort of sounding tracks. But then I hear this and I don't think it's really that terrible. It's easily one of the more passionate things here. Matt Bellamy does great here. Just realize this is still alternative rock with a big head and a big ego, and that might turn you off. And while not perfect, Won't Stand Down is just a really good rock single. And you kind of know what you're getting here, but I do like the warm rhythms in the back and that big riff that we get. It's got some swagger to it. As far as modern alternative rock goes, this is not bad. Like, I'm totally okay with this. And Ghost, How Can I Move On, is a really, really shockingly good track. And listen, for years now, they've been trying to maneuver around a way of making their brand of alternative rock kind of fit in with the symphonic rock genre a little bit more. But I don't think they've done it really classier than this. As a matter of fact, I think it's a really great medium. Some of the most emotional and heartfelt material you're going to hear here. And once again, Matt Bellamy's vocals are really good. And you know what? I think it might be my favorite track of the album. And yes, there are some goofy lyrics and cliches everywhere, but I will give it a pass. And don't hate me. No, you're gonna hate me. I actually kind of love You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween. This is such bottom of the barrel trash. It is so goofy. It is so campy. God, like the 80s called so hard on this track and they want everything back. But it's a lot of fun. Like, it is borderline plagiarism, but it is freaking fun. And if you hate it, trust me, I 100% get it, but I had some fun here. And call me crazy, you definitely might. I think We Are Fucking Fucked as a finale actually does the trick. It is super cheesy, borderline ridiculous, but it also has some teeth to it compared to the alternative metal that we were getting earlier. I would so much rather listen to this. It's pretty raw, man, and Matt Bellamy's performance, once again, is just about as ridiculous as everything else on this track. His album's kind of messy, Muse is kind of messy in general, but still, I would rather take this album over The Resistance, The Second Law, and Drones any day of the week. This album is not perfect, and when it is bad, God, is it ever, like, really unlistenable and some of the worst alternative rock I've heard all year, maybe the last 2 years. But the fact of the matter is, Muse is in a better place right now, and yes, it's cheesy, it's campy, it's full of cliches, it's even goofy at points. But if you let yourself have some fun with it, let the egos and the politics aside, you could actually have some fun with this album. But if you hate it, I get it, but I actually had a lot of fun with parts of it, even though I still can't, God, some of the worst tracks here are just, like, haunting me. I'm feeling a decent 6 on this album. It's really not that bad, but let me know what you all think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what would you like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.